I think, inherently like collecting data isn't like necessarily a violation of people's privacy
Right.
if they understand, why you're collecting it, what you're doing with it.
Yeah.
And of course, when it comes to like personalization, if personalization actually indeed leads to a better experience, then I think people will opt into having a better experience. Like you don't need to trick them into doing it. But I think that when it comes to data collection, we all need to be thinking, whether we're a marketer or we're, a product and engineering organization or whatever it is, we need to be thinking around like principle of like data minimization. Like, why are we collecting this? Does this actually help us do our job better? Because I think, historically, we collected a lot of stuff just because we had the opportunity to collect it, and we weren't necessarily thinking, what are we actually going to do with it? We were just kind of collecting it just in case, we might need to use it later. Yeah. So I don't think that really is going to fly anymore, both from like a regulation standpoint and also from a consumer perspective. So we should be thinking about how are we actually going to use this information to do our job better or to create a better experience for the consumer.
Yeah. And so what impact does AI have on all of this stuff? I mean, certainly, it's hard to. I know every show this year we've talked about it in some degree. I think it's almost a requirement, and the show's going to air in 2024, but we're recording at the end of 2023. But where do you see the positive impact of AI here? But also, what should brands be paying attention to AI, regarding privacy and some of these other things we've talked about?
Yeah, so I think that's a good question. I'm glad that we're hitting our natural podcast AI quota for
right. At least one question,
Yeah, exactly. So I think like on the positive note, I think there's huge benefits to what we're saying in AI, and we're really only starting to scratch the surface. Like the analogy I use all the time is it really feels like the early days of the internet to me.
Yeah.
I was only in high school at the time, but there was a lot of concerns, of course, with the start of the internet. Lots of predictions that were completely off about what it was actually, what kind of impact it was going to actually have on the world. But we went through a phase of the pets.com era, and I think we're a little bit like that right now in terms of the AI era. But it's hard to argue that the internet didn't, for the most part, have a very positive impact on the world so far. And I think AI is also well positioned to do that. And it can have a huge benefit, I think, when it comes to product experiences, making them feel, we talked about personalization earlier. I think all systems, all products at some point in the next 5 to 10 years are going to be highly personalized, where based on your behavior and the way you interact with them, they'll adapt to essentially behave or show you the information that you need. And that's going to be a good thing. And there's a ton also of innovation that's going on in the health tech space around drug discovery that's leveraging these systems. It's hard to argue, like if you could cut down essentially the time to market of a drug that's going to help somebody survive some terrible disease by 50%, that's certainly a good thing. Right. So I'm very much on the positive side of what the impact to the AI can have on us, for us. And even in the short term for marketers, there's huge efficiency gains. Like I use things like ChatGPT and Bard and other AI systems all the time to help me brainstorm ideas for social media posts and blog posts and so forth, or even help improve my writing at times. So I think there's huge value, and I think anybody who's not really exploring how to leverage these systems to do your job better and more efficiently, you're probably doing yourself a disservice right now, because it's going to change everything. But on sort of the negative side is it is still very early, and there is still a lot of unknowns when it comes to using these systems. And one of the big problems when it comes to privacy is that these generative AI systems are really designed to learn, not designed to unlearn. So if any information about a customer or employee or core IP essentially is used part of the training of the model, or even sometimes in inference, there's no way to really get that data back. So in the world of GDPR, the right to be forgotten, and all these other privacy regulations around the world, it's basically impossible to be compliant, because there's no row like in a database to go and delete the data. There's no row that exists in a deep learning model. So once essentially the data has been vectorized and aggregated in the model, there's no way to delete it. And that has huge consequences when it comes to privacy and compliance and security. And I think we're asking a lot of I think privacy and security is top of mind and governance for a lot of businesses, but I haven't seen always as much of a sort of deep level thinking on this in terms of how do we actually control access to the information as I would like to see. And I think in order to really move beyond prototypes to production, these are problems that we have to solve.